Hey everyone, Tyler here from TW-Waytek. Today we're going to be talking about how to link notes to a SQL Server table in Excel using Power Query. So let's get started. Linking notes to a SQL Server table is something I started doing while working at Microsoft, since we had access to a lot of the system's data via SQL Server. One of my functions as an Azure Capacity Planner was to track the changes made to the global server capacity for specific server groups, and using self-referencing tables allowed me to do just that. So for this example, I'll be using a SQL Server database I set up in a previous video. So that's this database here. We get minute by minute Microsoft stock quotes. This gets downloaded daily. So this may not be the best example, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to showcase how this works with a changing data set. So I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one. So to sum up what I'll be doing here, I'll be taking this SQL table of Microsoft stock quotes, importing it into Excel, which is what we have here, and then adding 2 additional columns at the end of it, which is what you can see here. And then linking the 2 columns to the SQL dataset via the primary key. So by doing this, it allows each note line item, so this line item here, to be linked to the specific row in this specific row in the table. This gives you the ability to refresh, filter, and sort your data set without any problem of your nodes being out of sync with the data. Let me show you this. So here's some data in the notes field. I'm going to add another row. Of data in the notes. Now I'm going to refresh the data set. Come up to data, click refresh, refresh all. You can see it's running here in the background. It's completed. So let's take a look at the last row, which was 425, so that would be yesterday. Let's just sort the data. Let's sort it by the number of trades, we'll say. Sort again, largest to smallest, etc., etc. So, and then lastly, we'll sort it again. So, if we look at the data quickly, you'll see that all of the IDs should still be the same. 67, 56, 54, 16, 3, 2, 1. So there was no change in terms of the linkage between our notes column and the data set. And if you're wondering where the data is stored for these 2 columns, it's in Excel, not in SQL Server. There are a few points to mention before setting this up. First, your SQL table needs to have a primary key or a unique identifying field in order for this to work. So that's what we have right here. Second, you can add 1 or more columns to the table. So for this, I'm adding 2 columns. One's date, one's notes, and but you can add as many as you'd like. And then third, this can work not just with SQL Server, but any type of data set that Power Query can connect to, including another Excel table. So now let's see how to get this set up. Okay, so first things first, we're going to get connected to SQL Server. So we're going to go up to the ribbon, go to Data, Get Data from Database, from SQL Server. As I said previously, you can connect to any one of those data sources, not just SQL Server. We're going to put in our SQL Server name, click OK. We should have had to request to enter our credentials there, but for the SQL Server, but I guess we previously did, so skip that point. So here we're going to want to select the table. We're going to select our daily stock prices, and then load. You can see here it's pulling the data from SQL Server, and here is our table. Next step is we're going to add the notes columns. I'll be adding 2, so I'm adding notes date and then notes. So these are the 2 columns that we're adding, and then next we're going to link the 2 columns to the SQL Server database. So first step in that is we're going to go back to the data ribbon and then get data from table and range. Click on this. This takes us to the Power Query editor. First thing we're going to do is rename this table, saying notes. And then next is to click on close and load. Close and load 2. And then only create connection. And then click OK. You can see it added another table, but this table has our last 2 columns in it. Whereas this table does not. So now we're going to go into the SQL Server table. You can just mouse over this and click Edit. It'll bring us back into the Power Query editor. Just refresh it. So again, make sure that you're on the primary table. We're going to go to Merge Queries. We're going to go to the drop down here. We're going to select our notes table. And then we're going to want to scroll and find your primary key. You click on both. We're just going to ignore their privacy levels. And you should see here it's going to match. This has to match in order to work. And then you click OK. So this creates a column. And then what you want to do with this column is click on the upper right button, the 2 arrows to expand. And we're going to deselect all of the columns except for the two notes column that I added. And then lastly, you're going to want to uncheck use original column name prefix. So this, we're going to click OK. So this should now add our 2 columns. Now we can go over to close and load, close and load. So now we're back to Excel, and you'll notice here that we have 4 columns instead of 2 columns that we added. So this is going to duplicate your columns, and what you want to do is you can remove those duplicate columns. And then we'll re-highlight these just to indicate they're different, and that's it. Now you have 2 columns, and you can populate them as you would. And again, you can refresh, filter, sort, anything you need to do. These will stay linked to your row. And that's how we do that. For more information on this video and more, make sure to visit my website at TW-Waytek.com. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below. So that concludes my video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel to get all the latest technology tips, and to visit my website at TW-Waytek.com, where you'll find even more tips and tricks. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.